places where the road thins, where the world you know gives way to something older, something patient. These are the stories of people who walked that edge and what they carried back. She died in February in a hospital room that smelled of recycled air and the particular exhaustion of places where people come to finish, holding my hand and speaking words I'd heard my entire life without ever understanding. Baba had always done this, slipped sideways into this other language when she was tired or frightened or moved by something she couldn't contain. My mother called it an old dialect, something so regional it had essentially ceased to exist outside our family. We accepted it the way you accept the untranslatable habits of people you love too much to interrogate. She died mid-sentence. That part I have never told anyone. Whatever she was saying, she didn't finish it. I went to her house 3 days after the funeral to begin sorting through 70 years of accumulated life. This is the work no one warns you about. The way grief becomes physical, becomes boxes and decisions and the smell of someone else's clothes. I found the journals in a locked strongbox beneath her bed. 14 of them, spanning 4 decades, written edge to edge in the same script I'd heard spoken but never seen on a page. It looked close to Cyrillic but wasn't. The characters carried small additions, extra strokes, diacritical marks that shifted them into something other. Something that felt old in a way that had nothing to do with the age of the paper. I photographed every page and sent them to a contact at the university, a linguist who specialized in endangered and extinct languages. He called me back in 3 days, which was faster than I expected. Not related to any documented language, he said. Not a dialect. Not a regional Creole. Internally consistent, a real complete language with grammar and syntax, but with no traceable origin in any family tree he could identify. He wanted to arrange a formal study. I told him I would think about it. I didn't call him back. That night I dreamed in it. Fragments only. The way you dream in a language you're just beginning, grasping meaning without being able to reconstruct the mechanism. But I understood the fragments, and what they said was, pay attention to thresholds. Pay attention to what stands at the edge of light. Pay attention at the hour when day cannot decide whether to stay or go. There was something in that house. I want to be careful here because I have spent a long time making sure I'm not misremembering this, to give it more shape than it had. It wasn't a presence with intention. Not exactly. More like a pressure, a weight in certain rooms, a sense of something standing just past the edge of where I was looking. Patient in the way very old things are patient. Not threatening. Waiting. It had been there a long time. Held at a particular distance by something my grandmother had been doing every day for 50 years. I found the relevant entry on the 4th night. I couldn't read the script, but I understood it. The same wordless comprehension from the dream. The language was a word, not metaphor, not ritual in any vague spiritual sense. Something practical, something architectural. Spoken at dawn and dusk. Written in pencil so faint along door frames and window edges that I'd walked past them a dozen times, thinking they were shadows. She had learned it from her mother. Who had learned it from hers? The chain went back further than the journals recorded. Back to a place and a time my grandmother had left behind at 19 years old and never spoken of directly. She had carried it across a border, across a continent, across 50 years of a life lived entirely in a language that wasn't this one. And every morning and every evening, quietly, in the kitchen before anyone else was awake. She had held the line. I sat in that kitchen at dawn on the fifth day, and I spoke what fragments I knew out loud, badly, haltingly, with the pronunciation of someone working from dreams rather than instruction. The words felt strange in my mouth. Not wrong exactly, but unfamiliar in the way your own name sounds unfamiliar if you repeat it too many times. The weight in the air shifted. Not gone. I don't want to claim more than what happened. But something in the quality of the waiting changed. Became less like pressure and more like acknowledgement. As though whatever stood at the edge of the light had heard me trying and decided that was sufficient. For now. My grandmother held this for 50 years, alone, in a country that wasn't the one she was born in a language no one around her spoke, without ever explaining to anyone why it mattered or what she was keeping at bay. She just did it. Every day. The way you do the things that need doing without waiting for someone to tell you they're worth doing. The journals are on my desk. I am still learning. There are passages I only half understand, words I know I'm mispronouncing, meanings I'm grasping sideways from dreams rather than reading directly. But I am the fourth generation of women in my family who have stood at this particular edge. My grandmother crossed half the world and never stopped standing there. The least I can do is learn the words.